So one of the questions that I get asked a lot is, what do you do with your bulls when they're not in season? Here in Missouri, I think the average cow herd is like, I think 17 is what I heard, maybe 27. But most people, they just leave their bull out with their cows so they don't have to manage him. So in my experience, what I've found is that gets really expensive really quick. I could go out and lose 2 calves in January, and I could have gotten rid of that bull and bought another one next fall. So I've got 2 calving seasons. I've got a spring calving season, a fall calving season. And what I do is I leave those calves, that bull in. So I'm trying to calve in sync with my forage cycle, in sync with how nature would do it as much as possible. Now we've got Kentucky 31 here. So I have, like I said, I've got a spring herd and I've got a fall herd. I'm also wanting to be profitable, so I want to make sure I don't have any open cows. So sometimes I'll leave the bull in a little bit longer than I actually want my cows to calve, just so I don't have any opens. So I've got 2 bulls. I've got a bull in with my fall calving herd. I've got a bull in with my spring calving herd. Again, I want to make money at this. I don't want any open cows. So we'll leave the, usually what I'm going to do is I've got my big bull breeding my big herd, and then I've got a younger bull breeding my smaller herd, just kind of cleaning up. If I got a few heifers or something, I'll usually throw them out with the smaller herd. The less number of needing to be bred, so that kind of thing, it all works out. And I don't have to worry about cleaning up or dealing with open cows. What I'll do, especially in the wintertime, I'm always trying to figure out ways to be more efficient, ways to manage less numbers, less groups, fewer groups, because I'm one guy, and having to deal with 7 or 8 or 10 or 12 herds is just absolutely miserable. You can't do a really good job at it, in my experience, my opinion, at least not me. So leave that bull in as long as possible. And so right now it's February. I'm going to pull this bull out before he can get me into trouble. That's the main thing. I want to pull the bull out before he can get me into trouble. If I'm going to preg check and I'm going to sell some cows, you can just leave him, in longer. But like I said, I've got a spring herd, a fall herd. So these are all things that I'm doing to mitigate this risk and to manage my bulls and manage my cows and try to be profitable, try to be as profitable as possible. And so you've got to figure out what works for you. But right now I'm going to leave my bull in. I turned him out 1st of December. He'll stay in until about the 1st of March, into February, 1st of March. And that way I don't have to deal with any December calves. I really don't want any November calves either. Optimal would be September, October calves. That works the best for me. In the springtime, I kind of want them to be... So in the springtime, optimal for me, I think, is somewhere around that end of April to beginning of June. Somewhere pretty close in there is going to work usually pretty good for me. And I don't want to go too late or I'll get into July and August. It gets hot, you have problems with maggots and other health issues, so want to mitigate that as much as possible. So when I do pull my bulls out, one of the things that I really like to do is I like to take him and keep him with some other animals. Any animal, these are herd animals, whether it's bulls or the rams too. Somebody told me one time, or a book that I was reading, that said especially in sheep, because they're a super prey animal, anything will eat a sheep. They're like the chicken of the ruminant world. So 6 animals is what it takes to have a herd. And if you've got less than 6 animals, you don't have a herd, you've got a stressed out mess. And yes, I'm talking more towards the production side. I'm not saying that you can't have some show animals or you can't have a few kids next to the house for, a few pets next to the house for your kids. Of course, if you're gonna be handling them all the time, you become part of the herd, right? So this is on a production scale, and scale kind of thing. If you've got less than 6 animals, you don't have a herd, those animals get more stressed. And I've noticed it's true for cattle just as much as it is for sheep and goats. So one of the things that I try to do is I try to keep, and I'm not great about it with cows, but I like to have at least 2 or 3 buddies in with my bulls. So I've been paying a lot of money for my bulls as a registered producer. I want to make sure that I'm buying in the best genetics possible. And so I don't want to get those bulls hurt. So now that I'm keeping my own bulls, it's a little bit easier to manage. And what I've been doing is I've been keeping the bulls separate. I keep them on different farms. And so this farm that I'm on, the rental farm that I'm on here, the owner had it all set up and he's got a couple bull pens. So he's got 2 bull pens and then he's got 4 sheep pens that were basically the size of his bull pens. And then he's got 3 or 4 other little lots. And I just kind of rotate them around through there. And I was running them with my grass-fed beeves, and that works pretty good. So the other bull I've got over at my house, My facilities aren't quite as good, but I'm getting there. Start where you're at and then go from there. And so he was in there with, I started feeding my little bulls, the bulls that I'm developing a little bit. When they go in and I'm selling them with my dad's bulls have been on grain since they were weaned. And so that puts mine at a disadvantage if I'm not also feeding grain. So I didn't want to feed my herd bull. There's no reason to. These bulls don't need grain. They just develop faster. They do get a little more gentle because you're right there with them. You spend a little, they trust you and they come to you for food, and it does some things that are okay. You can do that with daily rotations too. But if you're going to be selling bulls in against other bulls that have been grained, it's just really hard to sell them if they've just been on grass. So didn't want to feed my big bull, and so anyway, I've been putting him in with my cull cows, which is normally why I end up with an extra 2 or 3 calves born in January if I hold on to those cull cows, because I'm silly. I've caused some problems for myself there, so I want to do something different. So what we're going to do this year, I'm keeping my own bulls. I've got my genetics where I want them. I think I've got enough genetic diversity here for a little while. Might buy in a few females, good females later on, to kind of supplement my genetics and diversify that a little bit if I feel like I need to. But right now I'm going to end up just keeping my bulls together. I'll pull out a big bull and a little bull. And normally what we've found, and what my dad and grandpa have told me, they've been in this business since 1949. My grandpa got his first registered Angus cattle then with my great-grandpa. Dad's been dealing with it all his life too. Normally what we find is 2 bulls that are different ages, different sizes. Normally one bull will be dominant and you won't have an issue. But if you're turning out 2 mature bulls that have both been running with different cow herds and they're about the same age and about the same size, those bulls are going to fight and they're going to continue to have issues sometimes. They may work it out, they may not, depending on the bull and their temperament. But what I've got is, like I said, a big bull in with my herd that has the most number of cows needing to be bred. And then I'm going to have a little bull that's probably 6 months to a year younger, maybe 2 years, depending on, the quality and stuff that I'm getting and satisfied with. And so I'll have some age difference there. I'll probably keep a few of those cull cows in there and then just do a better job of selling them so we don't have any January calves. And maybe a grass-fed beef or something like that. Or when I get to where I'm not selling with my dad as much and I'm just selling my bulls together, I'll probably just have all those bulls in there. So that'll be a good thing. And we'll just have a bull farm. We'll be running all our bulls on one farm. The other thing I could do is I could run them with my sheep. That sounds kind of weird, especially if you're a rancher, but I have run sheep and cows together as long as they're not during little calves, heifers and stuff that get curious about the sheep. But normally the bigger animals, they get used to them, they leave them alone. And they'll develop interesting relationships. Sometimes you'll walk out there and you'll see a baby lamb sitting on top of a really gentle animal or something. You're like, whatever. They're figuring it out. But I've had pretty good experience with that. Haven't done a whole lot, but I have had good experience with what I have done. So that's an option, getting a few more eyes, getting them comfortable, and also managing those bulls outside of having to keep them with the cow herd all year. Another good option, if you're not spending a whole bunch of money on your bull, or you don't have a lot invested in that, you could just sell that bull. Or if you could find a neighbor that you keep a bull for a year or for a season and then let them use them, and then you get them back or you trade them out, or however that works. There's a lot of things you could do if you're creative here, and that's a pretty cool opportunity. Contact whoever you're getting your bulls from and see if they have somebody interested in them. Maybe they've got better facilities. You use a bull for a season, then move him on, and then you go back and buy another bull. That's a great way to do it. You're keeping your genetics fresh. Most of our customers, they'll use a bull for a year or two and then sell them and then come back and get another one so that they don't have to deal with breeding heifers back to their sires. So that's a good way to do it. If you're a few other creative options that I could think of just staying in here would be to, again, trade with somebody, send them or purchase them in with somebody, call your advertise on Facebook, say, hey, you could do a bull rental service, bull lease service. Watch out for trick, general health issues. There's a lot that goes into that I'm not going into in this video. There is some risks associated with that. Who pays for him if he dies or gets injured? Covers that kind of thing. Trick test in, trick test out, semen test in, semen test out. Lots that goes into that. But if you can do it, especially if you're paying more money for a bull, you got to try to optimize that, get the best return you can on that investment. So Anyway, I hope this helps you guys. It's something that I think about a lot. I get a lot of questions on. Something I'm doing myself is making sure I'm pulling those bulls, not calving in extreme heats, extreme colds, and still being able to manage as few herds as possible. And so if you guys like this content, like, subscribe, follow for more. We appreciate you. Leave a comment in the subscription leave a comment if you want to see more videos like this or have any kinds of questions. I'm happy to answer them. We appreciate you guys. Thank you.